Good morning. How are you? Can you hear me? How are
We
you?
go. I'm better than I was yesterday.
Did you have a hard day yesterday?
Yeah, I just was so did the cat. Yeah, I just wasn't feeling it yesterday.
Maybe, do you think maybe because Kelsey's going to be
No,
going? No.
no.
Huh?
I was tired and yeah,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah. How
That,
are you?
I'm good. Yes. Doing well.
Good.
Doing well. Yes. Busy, busy, but doing well.
You're always busy.
I know. I
I
know.
don't have a life.
Did I tell you I'm taking my real estate test?
That's right.
Okay. So the crash course was last weekend, Saturday and Sunday from like 8 to 5, like full 2 days. Yeah, in the classroom, like nonstop. So it was pretty, just a lot of information. So this week I have on Friday my actual test. I kind of wish now I would have taken that crash course like a few weeks ago, because they give you so much more information that pertains to the test as opposed to what you learn in the courses. That I wish I had more time. But
But you had a crash course last weekend, no?
last
Last
this
weekend.
this last weekend was the crash course, right? I wish I would have done that 3 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, but it's like you crammed now. You crammed for your test.
Yeah, there's so much information that she said that's not in the book. Like, oh, write these down. These are all in the newest test, on the newest test that aren't in the
uh,
book. So I feel like, oh gosh, now I need time to learn that. It's just so much information.
yeah.
So,
Oh, I'll say
well,
a prayer for you.
thank you. If I don't pass it, then I can go back to that crash course, no charge. So I'll just do it again.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, but boy, that's a lot
It is.
for one weekend, like you said.
Yeah.
Just wears you out.
Oh yeah. Like it's amazing how much info they go through in 2 days. And
Yeah.
they give you an hour break and for lunch, and that's about it. Five
And
minutes.
then it's back to it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. You poor thing. You must be exhausted.
Oh, nah. I'm okay with that. It's more just the like Friday is going to be here before you know it, and I'm going to be going, oh no. I,
Ah, you'll
I
do
I need
fine.
one more week. I don't know if you ever feel ready.
You're having test anxiety.
Yes. Yes.
Now, listen to some soothing music. Go watch Twilight.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been thinking about that movie lately. I don't know why.
Yeah, boy, that was such a big hit. And the books.
I was a big fan.
Were you?
Yeah, it's like a what's the phrase that I'm trying to think of? It's a guilty pleasure
Yeah.
because and not so I mean, yeah, the movies were good, but I just fell in love with the Edward Cullen character. I mean, just because he was so old fashioned and respectful and it's
Yeah.
just like so
Yeah.
anyway,
That's
anybody's watching this, I'm going to be embarrassed, but yeah, some of the music has been stuck in my head the last
um
couple of so
I haven't read the books. I should.
really,
Um,
oh, I have them. I'll have to lend them to you. They're a little
okay.
dog-eared, and I mean they're not great literature, but it's a nice escape. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Because
Yeah.
I'm normally I'm a big reader. Lately all I read is my real estate literature. So,
Wow.
all right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay.
All right, let's start off with some words. Here we go. Away, again, off, went old number. Great tell men, say small every, found still between. Name should Mr. Home big give. Air line set. Own under read. last never us, left end along, while might next, sound below saw, something thought both, few those always, looked show large, often together asked, house, don't world, going want school, important until form. All right, now I've got some doublets. Here we go. Brewer's malt, carrying case, die cast molds, electric shaver, curtain call, fiberglass boat, bulletin boards, ladies apparel, commercial art, auto accessory, burglar alarm, hanging plants, garden supplies, electric fans, feed supplement, pressure gauges, customs broker, door hardware, steel fencing, cash registers, aluminum door, children's wear, iron castings, heat exchanger, overhead door, glass blowing. All right. Let's do some names and addresses. Here we go. Lonnie M. Welch, W-E-L-C-H, 2029 Sanborn Way, Newton Junction, Georgia, 30909. Lori G. Gorder, G-O-R-D-E-R, 9239 Ridge Road, Kinsman, Ohio, 44528. Jolene A. Smith, S-M-I-T-H, Gilroy High School, 7653 Church Street, Gilroy, California, 95020. Dorothy J. Ockwey, O-C-K-W-E-Y, State of New Jersey, Training School for Boys, Skillman, New Hampshire, 08508. Angie C. Brown, B-R-O-W-N, Route 2, Box 173, Maiden, North Carolina, 28650. Sister Marie L. Jones, Jones, Catholic Central High School, 319 Sheldon Avenue, Grand Rapids, Michigan, 49503. Lourdes G. DeRoy, D-E-R-O-Y, 145 224th Street, Rosedale, New York, 11413. Melissa L. Snyder, S-N-Y-D-E-R, 124 Grand Street, Danville, Pennsylvania, 17821. Kathy W. Hammett, H-A-M-M-E-T-T, 250 Spartan Trail, Sycamore, Illinois, 60178. Susan B. Lutz, Lutz, 1343 Lentz Court, Layton, Wisconsin, 53081. All right, let's do some consonant compounds. These focus on initial consonants DR. DR. Here we go. The drapes were dreadfully dreary. He drilled a hole in the dry driftwood. He was so dry, he dreamed of dripping water. The druggist was so dreary, he took up drumming. The dramatic child dreamed dreadfully. The Dredson is a drover who drives sheep. Don't drool and droop after drinking the draft beer. Dreadnoughts are drawbacks for dredging. The dromedary was drowsy after eating a dry drumstick. The drama was dragging down the draftee. He was a draftsman who drew the dream. A drainpipe dream was dramatic. Driftwood dressers are very drastic. One drawback to drawing is drowsiness. A dragonfly was drifting dramatically. Don't spend any time in the draft. The dressy dribbler dragged along. The drummer drowned, leaving the drugstore. The dripping water was drinkable. A dragonfly was drifting dramatically. The driftwood dried in the draft and drooped. All right. Now, this next one is going to focus on word endings, CH, SH, things like that. Here we go. It was attached to the leash. They pitched the washed peaches. The dog was leashed and curbed. He thrashed about in a crushed position. Have you ever crashed and been crushed? Wash your hands when they are slashed. She wished away the blemish. The pitcher had a new pitch. They were lashed and slashed just like trash. Don't disturb Barb. I beseech you to empty the trash. The clothes were bleached as they were washed. He flashed a signal before he crashed. Don't be rash when you go down the hatch. Before he crashed, he switched to the pitch. He patched the rabbit's hutch. They thrashed the threshold. Even though the dogs were leashed, they were crushed. We patched the carburetor and washed it. Did you ever see or eat a bleached peach? All right. Let's finish up our drill that we started yesterday. Words that start with why, whether, who, whose, which, where, whom, when, what, while. Okay, here we go. I don't know whether or not we were there when she was. That is the whistling tea kettle, which I heard while I was there. I don't know who that is, nor with whom he is staying. Who, why, and where are the questions to ask. Where did the message come from and when? Why are you whirling around when you shouldn't be? Where is the person with whom you're living with? This is the why, where, what, and which of that. Which way did they go while they were there? Whether we come or not is subject to our whims. Why did he say what he did when you were there? The whining child had whooping cough. Wherefore art thou? You were where when it happened? Why is the whiskey marked wholesale? Whether they were where they said they were is questionable. When did the whimsical woman whistle? Where was the person whose name was called? Which way was the white whooping crane flying? Who was it with whom you danced? All right, one of my favorite drills. Let's do some Tangle Tamers. Here we go. Virtually ignored, numbered consecutively, non-environmental issues, illegally imprisoned, crumbling dollars, ethics initiative, constitutional amendment, aerial spraying, fugitive subpoena, consecutive tournaments, flamboyant personality, media circus, civil liberties group, computer-aided devices, bureaucratic permission, congestion update, ecology reports, storybook plantation. All right. Legal, these are going to be legal phrases. Here we go. Self-imposed ceiling, foregoing general rule, contractual relations, subsequent marriages, force and duress, foregoing general rule, cannot be delegated, injured third party, termination by operation, special or limited, municipal court judge, self-imposed work, safe place to work, cited by the critics, received fatal injuries, foregoing propositions, use common sense, falsified evidence, and instruct you with regard. Okay. I've got one last drill to give you. These are going to be words that focus on final F versus final V. So I'm going to give you some of the words and then the sentences, okay? Here we go. Safe, save. Leaf, leave. Strife, strive. Grief, grieve. Belief, believe. Wave, waif. Wife, wives. Life, lives. And here are your sentences. Don't grieve so. Aren't they alive? It is my belief. Save your pennies. Do you waive a jury? Take out your savings. The case can't be saved. The jury didn't believe him. He lives the life of Riley. Leave me alone. I thought he would waver. It is unbelievable. Ask him to waive the jury. The judge believed me. Don't waive it. Save the whales. Do you believe that alibi? It was a live telecast. Rake up all the leaves. The performance is live. He saved enough. Do leave quietly. Do you believe that story? It is hard to believe. Did you file the waiver? Her belief is genuine. He acts alive. Leave it up to the judge. He waved goodbye. A cat has 9 lives. File a waiver. He lost his savings. The case can't be saved. Leave your card. Don't make waves. Try a savings account. They took a jury waiver. I believe you. His belief was shaken. I've but one life to live. The leaves are falling. Save in a savings and loan. I strived hard. Strive for success. It is his belief. He showed utter disbelief. All right. Let's do some opening statements. I'll start at 60 and work my way to 100, okay? All right, here we go. You are going to hear at 11:43 that morning. So sometime just before noon, Sabrina Helm makes that call. And that is recorded to Brian Stowe and Karen Watts' answering machine saying, I can come out. I will be out there sometime after 2 o'clock today. You are going to hear about the 2 stops she made before Stan Adams and Brian Stowe's residence. That is, she stops at the Rick Sands residence at about 1:30 in the afternoon, and sometime between 2 and 2:30 she stops at a woman by the name of Joanne Zip. Sabrina makes the similar kind of stops. She stops. She takes pictures of the cars. She gives them an Auto Trader magazine and information, a bill of sale. She completes the transaction before taking the photo for Auto Trader, and then she goes on to her next stop for that day. Well, her next stop that day was at the Stan Adams salvage property. You are going to hear at 2:27 p.m. a woman from Auto Trader, Dana Pleiska, talks to Sabrina Helm. You are going to hear that during that conversation, Ms. Helm says, "I am on my way. I am on my way to the Daniel Mack property." So when we talk about a timeline, when was she there? About when does she get there? You are going to hear that the Zip residence is less than 10 minutes from the Mack property. And if at 2:27 she says, "I am on my way," it can be no longer or no later than 3:27 or about 3:40. Excuse me, 2:27 or about 2:40 in the afternoon, or 20 minutes to 3, that Sabrina Helm gets to Stan Adams' property where the photos are supposed to be taken. You will hear evidence that she completes the actual transaction. She takes the photos of the van just like she has been asked to do. You will then hear in, unfortunately, graphic detail what happens to Sabrina Helm after 2:40 in the afternoon. Let's go back to the investigation for just a minute, though. Sabrina doesn't show up for work on the 1st or the 2nd of November. On the 3rd, the Helm family and friends become understandably concerned, and they begin to retrace Sabrina's steps. Where is Sabrina? They are asking how they can find her. On the 4th, both the citizen efforts and the law enforcement efforts to find Sabrina are kind of ramped up. They do some aerial searches. They look at financial transactions. They check out her cell phone records, which towers that her cell phone kind of ping off of or bounce off of a close tower. And also, you will hear about the distribution of missing person posters at that time given out by the citizens. You will hear that on the morning of the 5th, her vehicle is found at 10:30 in the morning by the Tabors. At about 2 o'clock, all of the investigators become actively involved in the searching, or at least in obtaining search warrants, as well as searching the property. And you will hear about the searches that continue. Then very quickly on Sunday, the firearms and garage is searched. And you will hear about the evidence that is obtained at that location. On the 7th, it becomes more full scale. There are a lot, in fact, hundreds of law enforcement officers and volunteers and citizens that become involved in the search of this massive 40-acre property. At that time, all the junked vehicles are then searched, and you will hear about the discovery of the burn barrel on the 8th. Those 3 critical discoveries that we talked about, that is the Toyota key being found in Brian Stowe's bedroom. The SUV plates are found at that time, and the burn area is discovered, which, contains those human remains. The 9th becomes a very important day as well. This is the day that Brian Stowe is arrested. Brian Stowe is arrested for a weapons charge. On the 9th, he is then interviewed. But what you will also hear about the Brian Stowe contact on the 9th is that the officers take some photographs. They do a physical examination of Brian Stowe, and they find a cut on him that you will see in just a few minutes. On the 10th, the burn area is further examined. On the key itself, on the key that was found in Brian's bedroom, they find his DNA. We will talk about that in a little bit further. On the 11th, the victim's blood, that is the female blood from within the SUV. Remember the big pool or the big stains in the cargo area in Sabrina's SUV? Well, those now match a soda can that Sabrina had up in the front of the vehicle. It's then presumed to be that of Sabrina Helms. So those are the first 8 days or so of the investigation and what you need to know. Again, that's probably, 2.5 or 3 weeks, or could be, of testimony. In this case, we are going to try to fit into a layer of evidence. Try to fit into about 2 days, or maybe 2.5 days. So it is going to go quickly, but it is meant to give you a flavor of the size of this case, the scope of this case, and also to the credit not only of the Helm family and to the memory of Sabrina, but you need to hear it. You need to hear the whole story of the investigation. We talked about those DNA matches that Ms. Calhoun developed at the crime lab. You're going to hear that Sabrina's blood is later positively identified to a standard area in the cargo area. All right. Just dating this, I know we covered it. That story is on Netflix. I don't know if you've noticed that. It's called The Making of a Murder, and it's all about that case. We changed the names on those, but now that it's out and it was really, the media had it all over. So we don't have to really change the names now because it was in court, but I changed the names just so you guys get different names and not hear the same names over and over. But that it is on Netflix. If you guys have Netflix, you want to watch it. But it's pretty crazy how there's some people saying that it was a setup. The guy didn't really do it. I don't know. It's interesting. And then you hear that and it's like, they found him guilty of murder. So, but they were saying that they framed him because he got away with something in the past and they were out to get, vengeance on him. And I don't know.
I know I love court cases like that. Let me ask you, I don't know if I asked you this once before. Is it possible to get a transcript from like the early 90s from LA? Do you know?
I think you can search. I know there used to be a website that we had at Sage. Somebody gave it to us, and you can look up any transcript that was from the past and pull it up. I can't remember what the name of that website is, but I'm sure you can.
Okay.
Do you know like the name of it?
No, I wouldn't know the name of it, but it was my boyfriend at the time. So yeah, I'll have to tell you about that sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I'd like to,
like whether he's a plaintiff or a defendant, if he's a defendant, then you could look up, the state of California and then put in his name and see what comes up.
Yeah, it's a criminal case.
Yeah.
So, and I know his lawyer's name, and I know that the DA was a woman, and yeah, because I was there and it was where did it take place? Like in Hawthorne or Torrance or something.
Wow.
So,
yes.
yeah.
You'll have to give me, and I can look too and see if I can find it,
Okay.
Yeah, that would be neat.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Yeah, then we'll just, I still change the names. Even like depots, really, you have to change the names because they haven't gone to court yet. So that you have to really protect the privacy. But once they've gone to court, it's public record, you know? So, all right. So we'll go ahead and get started with Q&A. That literary was kind of literary / jury charge. So we'll just call it both. That's why I just kept reading, because I thought, well, this kind of covers both. All right, we're almost done with this transcript. It's the one we've been working on. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's see. Defense is questioning. We'll start at 60, work our way to 100. He indicated he had never seen any burners in the home, right? Correct. He indicated he had never seen any methamphetamine in the home, right? Correct. He also indicated that he had never seen any evidence of manufacturing of methamphetamine, right? What do you mean by evidence? Well, all of the above. Anything to make methamphetamine. He never noticed any methamphetamine activity going on at the house, correct? That is correct. He did, however, tell you that his dad had some marijuana plants, right? Yes. And he had seen the marijuana growing in the house, right? Yes. When you interviewed John Masters, he indicated to you that methamphetamine that had been washed with acetone would dry very rapidly, correct? Correct. Did he give you a time or an estimate of what he thought it would take for methamphetamine to dry? I did not ask him specifically. Okay, thank you. I have nothing further. Counsel, I have no questions. Thank you. Counsel, anything further? No, Your Honor. Thank you. May this witness be excused? Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. You may step down. Any further witnesses on behalf of the people? No, Your Honor. People rest? Yes. Mr. Wilson, any affirmative defense on behalf of Mr. Myers? No, Your Honor. Any affirmative defense on behalf of Ms. Peterson? None, Your Honor. Motion by the people. People move to have the defendants held to answer for any and all crimes evidenced by the preliminary hearing. Mr. Wilson? Your Honor, I'd ask the court not to hold Mr. Myers to answer for this manufacturing of methamphetamine charge. That's count 1. There's really no evidence that's been presented to indicate any manufacturing of methamphetamine. We have this young man interviewed at this scene. He indicates that there was no strong odor of any chemicals. None of the materials found to manufacture. None of the materials, the glassware, beakers, none of those kind of things were located at the scene. Burners, anything to that effect. We have Deputy Ramos simply saying that he thought that the methamphetamine located in the coffee filter appeared to be a little wet to him. The lab analysis indicated that acetone would dry very rapidly. And we have Detective Hogan indicating that he arrived an hour to an hour and a half later, and he felt as if that methamphetamine was still damp and the coffee filter was still damp when he arrived. That contradicts Deputy Ramos' testimony, where he indicated that the methamphetamine was damp, but the coffee filter was dry. It seems as the testimony provided by Deputy Ramos would indicate that we were later in time, if you will. Obviously, if the coffee filter and the methamphetamine were drying, and then we have Deputy or Detective Hogan show up an hour to an hour and a half later, and now all of a sudden we've gone back in time to the point where both the coffee filter and the methamphetamine are damp, which is just preposterous considering the lab analysis indicates that the acetone would dry very rapidly. We also have Deputy Ramos, based on his estimation, indicating that he didn't make entry into the house until approximately 30 minutes after his arrival. So what we have is allegedly methamphetamine that's supposedly damp out to 2 hours after the deputies arrived on scene, where they locate Mr. Myers in the front yard. So we have a minimum of an hour and a half gap, maybe a 2-hour gap, maybe more, of a substance that dries, quote, very rapidly, according to the lab analyst. So I think that we have insufficient proof to show that there was no manufacturing going on. Clearly, there was possession. That's fine. I would submit on count 2. But I think the court should not hold on count 1. As to count 4, I don't believe there's been sufficient evidence to show that there was any endangerment or that the child was placed in any danger, according to count 4, based on that young man's own testimony or his statements to law enforcement. He never really saw anything going on. No manufacturing of methamphetamine or anything similar to that. So I would submit on the court's discretion as to 2 and 3, but ask the court to not make a holding order as to 1 and 4. I would ask that Ms. Patterson not be held to answer on any of the charges. And that's simply because There was nothing presented to show that she knew about the marijuana in the house, that she knew about any manufacturing or sales. Nothing was presented to even show she lived at the house. She was simply out in the front yard like 40 minutes after the search began. She dropped a meth pipe and she said that she had smoked some meth earlier in the day and there might be meth in the house from what she was smoking. Clearly, she's not smoking damp methamphetamine. So there's just no knowledge at all about any of the charges that she's been charged with. So I'm going to submit on that. Mr. Mason, well, as far as count one, we had two experts, Detective Hogan and Mr. Masters. Both testified that cleaning with acetone and drying and crystallizing, it is a stage of processing. The section requires any stage within that processing or within the manufacturing stage. I don't recall Deputy Ramos saying that the coffee filter was dry. If he did, I missed it. But we clearly have two witnesses who say it was damp and moist. The coffee filter was yellow and it smelled of acetone. It's clearly a stage in processing. As far as count four with the juvenile, regardless of how you go with the manufacturing, although I feel like that's been proven, you still have two baggies of meth accessible, marijuana plants, pipes, and all these other items that are accessible to a 14 or 15-year-old child. As far as Ms. Patterson, I think Ms. Saunders misspoke. Ms. Patterson was there when the deputies got there. The search might have been a few minutes later, but she was there. She threw the pipe. She knew there was meth in the house. She knew there would be meth in the house. She used it earlier. And I think based on the testimony that we have proven all the counts for both defendants. If I could just be heard for a moment, Your Honor, it was Deputy Ramos that testified that he was there. He was outside for about half an hour before they secured the house. When he secured the house, nobody, neither of the co-defendants were inside the house. And it wasn't until about 40 minutes later that he located Ms. Patterson and her co-defendant outside in the front yard. May I clarify on that? Yes, you may, counsel. Detective Salmon testified that as soon as he got there, he contacted both of them in the front of the house. Yes, but there was no testimony as to when Deputy Salmon got there in relation to Deputy Ramos. And if I could add, there was testimony regarding this wet methamphetamine. The testimony of the criminalist, the 115 testimony from this John Masters, was that it was dry when he arrived, which again contradicts the testimony of Detective Hogan and Deputy Ramos. Anything further by either side? No. Nothing. Submit. In addressing count 1, there was testimony, Mr. Waltz, by Detective Hogan, that the last stage of manufacturing methamphetamine is the cleaning process, in which he stated that you use acetone and coffee filters to clean and finish the methamphetamine. It gives it a better look. It's whiter or crystallizes, which people refer to when they buy it. I'm paraphrasing some of his testimony, of course. And he said that is the last stage of processing methamphetamine. There is also testimony from Mr. Masters from the crime lab that examined the items and stated that the methamphetamine located in item number 105 was in a process of manufacturing methamphetamine, because the last stage of processing is to wash the methamphetamine with acetone. And that's what was found in the house, was a coffee filter filled with methamphetamine that smelled of acetone. The methamphetamine itself was damp. The coffee filter was damp. And that clearly is in the stage of processing. As for count 4, Mr. Waltz, cruelty to a child by endangering health as a misdemeanor. There was testimony that there were chemicals present, as well as methamphetamine, marijuana, and other items that would cause or could cause a child to endanger his health or safety. As for Ms. Patterson, Ms. Saunders, there was testimony from Detective Salmon that when he interviewed her, she admitted throwing the methamphetamine pipe down when the police arrived, that she was aware there was more methamphetamine in the house, that she had just smoked some. She's aware of the items that are inside the house. So I'm finding there's sufficient evidence to hold her to answer as well. It does appear to the court that the offenses as set forth in the felony complaint, specifically count 1, manufacturing methamphetamine, count 2, possession for sale of a controlled substance, count 3, cultivating marijuana, and count 4, cruelty to a child by endangering health as a misdemeanor. Those offenses have been committed, and there is probable cause to believe that Mr. Myers and Ms. Patterson are guilty of those offenses. They are held to answer to stand trial for those charges and any other charges shown by the evidence. This matter is set for arraignment in Department 2 on Wednesday, December 13th, 2014 at 8:30 in the morning. Bail remains as set. Mr. Myers and Ms. Patterson, you're both ordered to appear in Department 2 on December 13th, 2014 at 8:30 in the morning for arraignment on the information. This case is assigned to Judge Thompson for all purposes, and we will have Mr. Myers' probation trial on the same day, as well as Mr. Myers' misdemeanor pre-trial will trail on the same day with a general time waiver in effect. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, counsel. Thank you, Your Honor. How are we doing on time? Okay, let's do some read back. That was perfect timing. We finished our transcript here. This was taken by one of my good friends in school. I carpooled with her the whole time we were going to court reporting school. She's a reporter in one of the courts. So she gives me a lot of different cases, interesting cases. All right, so this is going to be defense question.
I just have to say, I am so glad you gave me that brief for methamphetamine. I'm like, meth. That's awesome. What a lifesaver.
Oh gosh, I can't even imagine writing that word out.
No.
Like
Methamphetamine.
4 strokes. Methamphetamine. Even if you broke it down to methamphetamine.
Yeah, it's still 4 strokes.
4.
So there are some 2-stroke words that I'm all, oh God, I need a brief for it. It's too much. Anyway.
I know. That one is like a lifesaver. Oh. All right, so this is a continuation of what we did yesterday for a read back. I know you had to leave, but it's a continuation. So the first time will be at 100, then 80, then 60, okay? All right, here we go. In other words, the substance of that conversation at that time was that Mr. Weeks told Mr. Stanton that he needed money. And you said you didn't know how much it was, but they would have to find out from the accountant. Is that a fair summation? Yes, sir. All right. Did anybody say anything to you about putting any additional money in the dealership at that meeting? I don't think so. I think they were going to have a meeting the next day. Did you have any discussion during this meeting about what would happen if the money wasn't put in? Yes, sir, we did. And what was that discussion? That we were going to have Mr. Weeks surrender the store to us. Did Mr. Weeks say anything about what his understanding was? That if he didn't have the funds in there March 20, we would have him surrender the store. Did Mr. Weeks say anything at that particular meeting about whether or not he had had any discussions with any representative of the corporation? Not really. No, sir. All right. After this evening conversation on March 16, when is the next time you had a conversation with Mr. Stanton? I believe it was the next day. All right. Approximately what time of the day, if you remember? 7 in the morning. All right. When was the next conversation that you had with Mr. Stanton after that? The next one was the following day at home in the morning. All right, so we'll do it again at 80. Here we go. In other words, the substance of that conversation at that time was that Mr. Weeks told Mr. Stanton that he needed money. and you said you didn't know how much it was, but they would have to find out from the accountant. Is that a fair summation? Yes, sir. All right. Did anybody say anything to you about putting any additional money in the dealership at that meeting? I don't think so. I think they were going to have a meeting the next day. Did you have any discussion during this meeting about what would happen if the money wasn't put in? Yes, sir, we did. And what was that discussion? That we were going to have Mr. Weeks surrender the store to us. Did Mr. Weeks say anything about what his understanding was? That if he didn't have the funds in there March 20, we would have him surrender the store. Did Mr. Weeks say anything at that particular meeting about whether or not he had had any discussions with any representative of the corporation? Not really, no, sir. All right. After this evening conversation on March 16, when is the next time you had a conversation with Mr. Stanton? I believe it was the next day. All right. Approximately what time of the day, if you remember? 7 in the morning. All right. When was the next conversation that you had with Mr. Stanton after that? The next one was the following day at home in the morning. All right. Someone's knocking on my door, so it's making my dogs bark, if you can hear that. All right, so we'll do the last take at 60. Here we go. In other words, the substance of that conversation at that time was that Mr. Weeks told Mr. Stanton that he needed money, and you said you didn't know how much it was, but they would have to find out from the accountant. Is that a fair summation? Yes, sir. All right. Did anybody say anything to you about putting any additional money in the dealership at that meeting? I don't think so. I think they were going to have a meeting the next day. Did you have any discussion during this meeting about what would happen if the money wasn't put in? Yes, sir, we did. And what was that discussion? That we were going to have Mr. Weeks surrender the store to us? Did Mr. Weeks say anything about what his understanding was? That if he didn't have the funds in there March 20, we would have him surrender the store. Did Mr. Weeks say anything at that particular meeting about whether or not he had had any discussions with any representative of the corporation? Not really. No, sir. All right. After this evening conversation on March 16, when is the next time you had a conversation with Mr. Stanton? I believe it was the next day. All right. Approximately what time of the day? If you remember, 7 in the morning. All right. When was the next conversation that you had with Mr. Stanton after that? The next one was the following day at home in the morning. All right. How was that?
Much better.
Good.
I need to get on more of a practice schedule. That's all there is to it.
How many weeks would you approximate that you're spending on your machine each week?
Not very much.
No? Okay.
No. It just seems like there's so much going on, and I make excuses. I just keep telling myself I need to, and then I start to wonder if I want to continue with it, and I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
just get out a calendar and write down the days and times you're going to practice. So then that's part of your schedule for the week,
I know. I truly have a mom's taxi service, though.
Yeah.
So I'm just, yeah. So anyway, I'll do read back.
All
That's
right.
fine.
Did you find your spot?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
The first one?
Sure.
Okay.
Question. In other words, the substance of that conversation at that time was that Mr. Weeks told Mr. Stanton that he needed money, and you said you didn't know how much it was, but that not that, why do I have THE?
Yep.
That they would have to find out from the accountants that, is that a fair summation? I'm so sorry. Answer, yes, sir.
Awesome. And then summation, you can squeeze a SM long A shun. Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
Question, all right. Did anybody say anything to you about putting any additional money in the dealership at that meeting? Answer, I don't think so. I think they were going to have a meeting the next day.
Question, did you have any discussion during this meeting about what would happen if the money wasn't put in? Answer, yes, sir, we did.
Question, and what was that discussion? Answer, that we were going to have Mr. Weeks surrender the store to us.
Question, did Mr. Weeks say anything about what his understanding was? Answer, that he, no,
Do you have if he?
yes,
Okay.
sorry, that if he didn't have the funds in there before, or in there, should it be by March 20?
Nope, it's
Oh,
just
before.
March.
Oh, in there, March 20.
Yep.
We would, oh shoot, hang on. I just hit the wrong button. Let me scroll down here. It takes forever to scroll. Good grief, come on, down. Okay, summation. Sorry about that, Jill. I hit the quit button rather than the down. And he wasn't in there. Yes, sir, we did. Okay, what his understanding was that if he didn't have the funds in there March 20, we would have him surrender the store.
Perfect. Question, did Mr. Weeks say anything at that particular meeting about whether or not he had had any discussions with any representative of the corporation? Answer, not really, no, sir.
Question, all right, after this evening conversation on March 16, when is the next time you had a conversation with Mr. Stanton? Answer, I believe it was the next day.
Awesome. Question, all right. Approximately what time of the day, if you remember? Answer, 7 in the morning.
Question, all right, what was the next conversation that you had with Mr. Stanton after that?
You have when was?
Um,
When was the next?
yes, what did I say?
What was?
Oh,
But you do
no,
have
I have WH.
Oh,
Yeah.
yay. Good job.
Okay. Answer. The next one was the following day at home in the morning.
Awesome. Awesome job.
Oh my goodness. I just need to have private classes with you every day of the week. And then I'll be fine.
I think that the mid speeds will help you out too, because that'll
Yeah,
be
I know.
another class, you know, if you can make that one.
I know.
Plus
It's such a weird time. So
yeah.
but I should watch it, you know. if
Oh,
I can't be there live.
yeah.
So
That was my other question. If you don't come into the live class, do you watch the recorded ones?
I haven't been.
Okay.
Or sometimes, you know what? I think I will try and watch a mid-speeds class, but I get so frustrated because you're so fast in the drills. You know what I mean? And I'm just, I don't know. So
Yeah,
much of it is a state of mind.
I know.
So I'm just old and tired. Yeah.
No,
Yeah. I'm
no,
old and
come
tired.
on. It's
Anyway.
all a state of mind, you know?
Yeah,
Gosh.
that's true.
It
I'm old
really
and
is.
tired.
I look at my mom still does spin classes every like
Mm,
3 and 4 a week, and I'm like, "Hey, mom, it's just crazy," you know.
yeah,
I do. I believe it's like a state of mind.
it really is. I should exercise more, and I don't.
That goes like with anything, you know, like
Yeah,
no matter what it is,
yep.
you know. I don't know. Everybody's different, but
Yeah, that's true.
a lot of it is like your state of mind. But all right, well,
Ooh, oh,
hope,
excuse me. I'm
hopefully
so
I
sorry.
pass on Friday, and then next week we'll have to
Yeah,
celebrate.
yeah. Well, I'm not going to be in class Monday or Tuesday
Okay.
because let's see. I'm going to see what the temperature is. Oh my goodness. Texts. The temperature in Bozeman right now, which is where we're going up to, is 42 degrees right now.
So hopefully Kelsey has a lot of warm clothes.
Yeah, she's going to have to because it says for next Wednesday that they're expecting snow.
Does she have warm
But
clothes?
yeah, she will. She will.
Good.
She's going to love it.
Oh gosh,
She's just going to love it. So,
oh yeah, that's awesome.
yeah,
That's
I know.
awesome.
I can't wait. Road trip. We're
Yay!
going to
I
leave
know that's
early Friday morning, and
that's gonna be awesome. And when you come back,
I come back, oh, excuse me, on Tuesday.
okay.
I'm leaving Monday at like 3:40 in the morning, something like that. She has to take me to the bus depot.
Okay. Oh, and at least she'll have her car there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good.
So,
That's good. All
all
right.
right.
Hopefully then I can see you this evening in class. And that's another thing this week. I have jury, I always want to say jury duty. But I called Sunday night. I'm on hold. I called last night, hold. Hopefully tonight when I call for tomorrow, I'm still on standby. So
What's your number? Oh, they don't go by that, do they? I think they just go by like your jury number or
yeah,
something.
it's like a jury
Jury
number.
number.
That
Yeah.
yeah.
How
So
funny.
hopefully, you know,
Excuse me, Your Honor. I need to be excused because I teach court reporting classes.
yeah, I don't think they'll care about that.
Probably
But
not.
no, but watch, I get all the way to the end, and then on Friday they say you need to report, and that's the day of my test, and I'll be in trouble.
Oh,
I'm kind of taking a gamble, you know.
yeah.
So
Oh my gosh. Well, what time is your test?
it's at 1:00, but it's in
Oh,
San Diego.
oh,
So
I'm sure you could call like an emergency number or something and, well, I
that's
don't
what
know,
I thought. If something happens, I'll just
postpone it.
yeah,
So,
yeah, I'll have to postpone it. That's right. So
all right.
all right, well, have a great rest of your day, and then
You
maybe I'll
too.
see you this evening.
Yep, I'll
Okay.
try.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good. Have a good
Okay,
rest of your
Jill.
day. Okay, bye.
Bye.